Howdy folks, good afternoon. How are we all doing today? Here's a fourth video produced for today. This is over at the Selby Botanical Garden, located in Sarasota, Florida. So, Selby Botanical Garden is one of the largest botanical gardens that highly emphasizes their research on epiphytes, also known as air plants, as I've mentioned before. So this botanical garden highly specializes in epiphytes. But aside from that, in this botanical garden you'll find a variety of particular types of plants that belong in deserts, the tropical regions, and even other parts of the world as well. You know, especially in, like display gardens, for instance. But it really highly specializes in tropical types of plants. So like for instance, what we have right in front of us, a type of cycad that falls within the Cycadaceae family. This is particularly native to Papua New Guinea, also known as the Cycas papuana. This is what they appear as, right here. So it's actually, here's the thing about Florida, is a lot of plants that are here, a lot of them are ornamental, that were brought over from separate regions of the world. But you may be thinking like, okay, with that being the case, does it make it invasive? Well, not necessarily. You know, just as long as the plant doesn't cause any harm in a particular region, like in terms of causing other plants, other native plants to die, then it's not necessarily harmful. It's just a non-native plant in this case. So that's something that can very easily get confused, because even though, as many of you may think, just because it's not native to the region must mean that it's invasive. Well, that's not always the case. But here, it actually shows a piece of the sort of the wedding lawn. People can actually hold their weddings right up here. You know, that's in part with nature. And then of course we have the famous lawn. And lawns are at the moment quite of a controversial topic right now, especially in Florida, because of the red tide that's going on right now. You know, lawns seem to have a very high emphasis among several Florida homeowners. And, you know, the idea of a green lawn that's trimmed came from these first world countries such as England and France. And usually a well-groomed lawn symbolized royalty or higher status. And actually, in a sense, it still kind of does to this day. But the thing is, though, with having a lawn like this, it really reduces the amount of biodiversity that can be in an area. However, this is an exception because we are at a botanical garden. But unfortunately, the controversy has been, you know, for those who use pesticides and herbicides, you know, to keep their grass as healthy as can be. Well, unfortunately, if too much of that is used, it has to go somewhere. Usually most of the time that will wind up in the rivers and then eventually into the Gulf. And so most of these fertilizers that have pesticides contain essential nutrients, such as that of nitrogen and phosphorus, for instance. And red tide, as I have briefly mentioned, I still haven't fully done a dedicated video on it yet, but the algae, Carenia brevis, that's how red tide is formed. Well, these algae like to feed on these fertilizers that make their way into the water, and thus it essentially exacerbates the algal bloom. Even though it is a naturally occurring algal bloom, but when there's more nutrients than what there is, well, the bloom is going to amplify. And that's the thing, like, Florida doesn't have an algal problem, it has a nutrient problem. Actually, just a moment ago I saw a great egret land in the lawn. But that's something to keep in mind, mates. Like, you know, I actually follow quite a few individuals who really encourage, you know, having some native gardens, or at least some trees too on your property. Just because, I mean, you're allowing more diversity to thrive. And also, if you have opportunity, you can even forage too. But yeah, essentially this Botanical Gardens was formed by a woman named Marie Selby, who moved into this area, and before she passed away, she wanted to dedicate a small little garden that public visitors could go to. And thus, ever since 1975, it has expanded, and it most definitely has. And so, this is one of the most popular garden sites in Florida, actually, on this part of the state anyways. But yeah, here is the desert plants display. This is really cool. But yeah, this just kind of tells you a bit about, you know, what really happens in a desert. And you can't remember your name because there ain't no one for to give you no blame. You went through the desert on a horse with no name. I can't help it. I had to throw in an America reference in there. Oh man. That's one thing I'm grateful for, is that I was brought up with good music. Oh man. But yeah. It just tells you a bit more. Like, you know, usually in the desert you'll see a lot more succulents and even cacti. So, alrighty mates. We learned something of value in this video. I mean, I've kind of went all over the place, you know, talking about the Botanical Garden and then kind of talking about the controversy of nutrient pollution in Florida. But I can't stay silent about it either, because it is indeed happening. And I'm, you know, a couple of weeks ago when I was helping with the artificial mini reefs with my mentor, Garrett Stewart, Captain Planet, I had to say something, you know. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I highly recommend this spot to visit. Totally worth your time. So, take care, you guys, and Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks.